Hey everyone, welcome back to New Heritage Wool. This is my Stitch Library series, and in today's video I'm going to show you the chain stitch. And I decided to spice it up a little bit and wear some red lipstick to match my nails. Hope you enjoy. But in other news, let's get started, and I'm going to show you exactly what a chain stitch is and how to use it for both decorative and also use it while sewing a garment by hand if you ever choose to do something like that. So before I get too involved in showing you the chain stitch video, I do want to tell you quickly about my free PDF. It's a little booklet. If you have ever desired to start tailoring at home and teaching yourself, I created a 6 tips to begin tailoring booklet just for you. In there, I go over materials, tips on hand sewing, tips on pressing, and all of the important parts about tailoring that sometimes are just glossed over in classes. I wanted to kind of bring them to the forefront and to the attention because there are things that I find most important. So if you're interested, go to my website at newheritagewool.com and download your free booklet to get started. Or you can check out the link in the description below. It'll take you right where you need to go. Alright, now that we've got the introduction over, let's get stitching and I will show you the chain stitch. For this sample, I am demonstrating an embroidery thread because it's easier to see on camera than just a regular machine thread, and I am making my stitch length intentionally small as if I was working on a garment piece. Now, I realize that my sample looks like I'm doing a hem. I was doing several examples and I kind of got in the groove of doing a hem, so sorry. You're going to begin your stitch by bringing your needle up from the bottom side of your work through to the top. Then you're going to take a very small back stitch, maybe like 1/8 of an inch big, very small, and you're going to only put the tip of your needle down into your work, and then you're going to scooch over to the left. I'm doing 3/8 of an inch, so I'm just going to keep saying 3/8, but you decide whatever your stitch length is. But I'm going to scoot over 3/8 of an inch to the left with the tip of my needle on the underside of my work, and then bring it up through to the top of my work. Before pulling the needle all the way through, I'm going to loop my feeder thread, or that extra long piece of thread between your needle and the knot at the end, I'm going to loop it around my needle. Once I've done that, I will then pull the needle through and the loop will create a chain, what looks like a chain stitch. That is how you create your first stitch. To move forward to make your second stitch, you're going to repeat this motion over and over and over. The project's done or you've achieved whatever it is you're achieving. But in this case, we're just doing a seam line. I'm going to do a few stitches in a row repetitively so you can see how the stitch is created. I'll try to slow it down a bit so I'm not moving too quickly, and hopefully it begins to make sense. Now, if you're using this stitch to do embroidery, you would be using embroidery thread like I'm using in my stitch video. I will say the beginner mistakes I see a lot is that beginners use the full thickness of embroidery thread. So my advice to you, if it looks too chunky, so the thread is a 6-ply thread, you can actually reduce the amount of ply in your embroidery thread to get that more fine, dainty look of embroidery. So in this example, I'm using a 2-ply thread. So I'll show here on the screen what a 6-ply fresh out of the package looks like, and then how I'm reducing it to a 2nd ply, just in case it's something you didn't know. Now you do. Now, with making this stitch with regular sewing machine thread, I did a sample of a pocket bag. It's not being used in anything, it's just purely a sample for the sake of having a sample. So I cut out, just freehanded a pocket bag shape, and the first thing I did is I stitched with a back stitch all the way around, flipped the pocket bag over, and then secured it again with my chain stitch about 2/8 of an inch from the edge of the pocket bag for my seam allowance. So when doing this, I actually really liked how it turned out. It looks very clean and neat, and then it looks and feels very secure. So to sew with a back stitch, like sewing a garment and that kind of stuff, where would you use it? So it's not common to use a back stitch to sew a garment, but I did have a couple of ideas of where I would probably use it just for some extra secure seams. So 2 of the places I think would be great to use it would be the crotch seam on a pant. So when you go to squat down to pick something up, your seam is then more secure than just having a straight back stitch by hand. Again, this is if you want to create a garment by hand. Now, I would love to experiment with that idea and see what the durability is like. The other area is the underarm, or even maybe like the back of the armhole, because if you think about it, when you're reaching out in front of you or you're driving your truck or your car or whatever, it has some impact on that seam. And now most of the clothes we wear today aren't super tight, but if you are somebody who wants to make your own clothing and you desire to have them fitted a little better than what most retail clothes have today, maybe use a chain stitch on that area to kind of secure the seam a little more. And then also, as my example, I use the chain stitch on the pocket bag, and that's because I have had so many times of a coat, the pocket bag will fray. Maybe I should just like not keep so much stuff in my pockets and that wouldn't happen, but whatever. I'm always gonna have some kind of something in my pockets. But I've had so many times where it opens and then next thing you know, all of my loose change or something is down at the hem of my coat and I'm trying to fish those out. So using the chain stitch, it also makes it look clean, it looks nice. Not that anybody's going to see it except for me, but it is a much more secure stitch than just using a serger. Especially if you're doing a silk fabric, your serger is going to do some good, but over time that fabric is going to deteriorate and you would have been better off having even like a, what are those called, a French seam, which I believe is what I've kind of created, is like where you flip it. But anyways, if you were curious as to where to use a chain stitch, if you're hand sewing, those are a couple of areas that I think it could be a good idea. Sometime in the future I will test them out and tell you how it went, hopefully. But anyways, this kind of wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure, if you would like to, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content, and I will see you in the next video. Either my laptop's gonna die and stop recording, or my camera's gonna die and it's not gonna be good. None of it's gonna be good. Okay, just in time, it was 4%. Jeez. Am I back where I'm supposed to be? Holy mackerel. Okay. Yeah.